Thanks so much for being here. Good evening. Thank you for your interest. I'm from the background of Chinese medicine, so the conversation about the elixir of longevity and immortality comes from that tradition. Longevity we kind of understand. It means living longer, but then again, people can live longer if you give them certain types of medications. They may not even be that well, but they're alive. So we're not really talking about that. We're talking about healthy longevity. And then immortality. You know, what's that? Well, usually people think that immortality means to live forever in the body that we have today. But actually, in Chinese medicine and Chinese philosophy, it doesn't mean that. It means something more like being aware of your natural, eternal self. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense and gives you some orientation. So I'm going to run through some slides, and I have quite a few slides, so I'm not going to talk very much about any of them, and we'll zip right through, and then we'll do like a little Qigong practice, which is the methodology used by the Chinese who developed these ideas to be able to attain healthy longevity and to attain immortality. So the first question is, am I more a local substance or more a non-local radiance? In Chinese medicine, it's absolutely fascinating. The basis of the medicine is not so much the body, it's the energy, the qi. And so the idea of how to tell if we're well or not well or how to become more well all has to do with this invisible substance called qi, which emerges from the origin of the universe. In other words, it's present before the beginning of the universe and after the beginning of the universe. And this is the classic view from the Chinese. You probably recognize this word right here, Tai Chi or Tai Chi. You've probably seen this symbol or graphic. You probably even think of that as the yin-yang symbol, which it is, of course. But the other thing that it is that is Tai Chi. That's Tai Chi. So everything else that's called Tai Chi is named after that. And before Tai Chi is what's called Wuji, which is the emptiness previous to the birth of the universe. So in the beginning, there's just one unitary, non-dual, boundless, timeless, you want to say something there, but the word thing doesn't fit. So it's just, you just say the words. One, unity, non-dual, boundless, timeless, period. And then after the beginning of the universe, there's at least two. There's the space between the planets and the stars as they're formulating themselves. And this two, the Tai Chi, is typically thought of as a mutuality of opposites, meaning hot and cold are in a mutuality, up and down are in a mutuality, light and dark is a mutuality. Do you see what I mean? And that is the basis of Chinese medicine. And so we're confronted with this beautiful question, and that is, from the material point of view, in the Western world, we have this idea that maybe the human body has an energy component. So we're asking the question, is it possible that the human body could have an energy component? And from the more indigenous or ancient point of view, or what we could call this is the material, so we call this the trans-material or beyond material paradigm. In that context, it's not so much a question, does the body have an energy? The issue is more like, does the energy have a body? Well, I have one, so I guess my energy does have a body. But if you think of it, what came first? The chicken or the egg? Sorry. So what came first, the body or the energy? And the answer from the perspective of those who understand this longevity and immortality perspective is that the energy is always there. It's never not there. And at some point or another, through a phenomena that I don't understand very well, and that even science knows very little about, the energy takes on a body. So here's the key concept. The essence of our being is eternal. It existed previous to the birth of the universe, and the manifestations that arise with space and time, this essence is present within you now. So in other words, the theory is that some aspect of the being that you are is eternal, existed before the beginning of the universe, and it's actually present within you now. And we could even go on and say that you could develop a relationship with that aspect of yourself. Second, the essence of our being is eternal, invincible, cannot get sick, and does not die. You are, you are inherently immortal. So are you kind of tracking this? It seems a little strange, out of the box, not something that we typically think about. But I'm here to basically report that there are people who have lived in this world who think like this automatically, and that Chinese medicine arises from a conceptual framework exactly like this. And the speculation is that it might be worth it to investigate these ideas. The question is not, how can I become immortal? It is more, given I am immortal, how shall I be in my life? So let's talk about physics, because the idea that we've been talking about so far is kind of like a cultural, anthropological view. In other words, we're looking at the ideas of ancient cultures. So now let's look at these same ideas from the perspective of our own highest science, physics, and we could spend the whole time talking much more about this, but just take a quick little view. One of my favorite experiences in my whole life was that I was in a hotel because my plane flight didn't go home, and I ended up staying in a hotel in a place called Detroit. I was a little unhappy about that because I was supposed to arrive at my home in Santa Barbara. And so I walked into this hotel room. I was kind of cranky, turned on the television. It was already tuned to the Nature Channel or something like that, and they were interviewing a physicist, and the question was being asked, what is the nature of things? And the answer that this gentleman gave was, as a mathematician, no matter how we calculate it, there is nothing here. I don't know how they do that, but it seems to me that these are the people who we pay fairly large salaries to. We give these people Nobel Prizes. They're supposedly on to what's actually occurring. And so when someone with all those credentials, this guy was from Princeton, I forget his name, people with all those credentials say something like that, you have to think, well, that guy probably isn't crazy because he's working for a large university and probably will win a Nobel Prize. So maybe I should pay attention to that. Maybe I should see if I can figure out how to live with that as some kind of a truth that's happening, in the world that I live in now. So then let's go to Einstein, who is, our favorite physicist. One of the things that he said is that reality is an illusion, albeit a persistent one, meaning that from the perspective of physics, reality is an illusion, but it just keeps showing up. And we don't really know exactly how this works, but it's intriguing, isn't it, to think of the possibility that there's actually nothing here and that reality is an illusion. Check this next one out. The only reason for time is so that everything doesn't happen at once. Einstein said it. I'm just reporting. I don't even know how to deal with this personally. But it sure is, it's just so intriguing. this is another one. Now this is Heisenberg. Heisenberg is one of the scientists that came after Einstein, who said, objectivity is impossible. The experimenter, by the nature of consciousness, influences the outcome of the experiment. Well, here in the Western world, we like to think that we have science that is going to transcend subjectivity. We try to collect data and information that is, shall we say, true because it is objective. And yet, here is one of the most respected scientists that has ever lived in the Western world saying that objectivity is impossible. What do you do with that? One of my other, I actually gave a presentation here at Esalen a couple of years ago at one of those invitational conferences. There was about 30 people there, and my roommate was this guy named Helmut Schmidt, who developed many little devices, and he was a physicist and very interesting character. And he developed the random numbers generator, which is the device that's used in this global, does anybody remember what it's called? Global Consciousness Project, random numbers generators all over the world. I won't take the time to describe the project, but I really loved having this guy as my roommate. And one of the things that he says, that he told me about how this whole thing works is that it's hard to even formulate these phrases, but basically what he would say was, you can't look at the data until you're really ready. Because if you look at the data before you're ready, the fact that you're not ready will have an influence on the data itself. Wow. And of course, people are collecting data all the time, assuming that it's correct. And then there's the whole issue of collecting data on drugs and the fact that the placebo, that it's been controlled for the placebo, but then we find out later that while we thought that that drug was effective, later we found out that it was not effective at all. And in part, the positive results that gave us that drug and put it on the market was actually based on people's perceptions and their hopefulness. It's fascinating. Now this is from a gentleman named Liu Yiming, and was stated sometime hundreds of years ago in the past, and it's about the golden elixir of longevity and immortality. The golden elixir is another name for one's fundamental nature. So now you may be familiar with your, as usual, day-to-day nature, but are you aware of your fundamental nature? Well, I don't know. I'm not exactly an expert at all this. I'm basically a citizen like yourself, curious about these things. I had the great fortune to study Chinese medicine, which tapped me into all of this absolutely fascinating information. The golden elixir is another name for one's fundamental nature. There is no other golden elixir outside one's fundamental nature. All human beings have this golden elixir, complete within themselves. It is entirely realized in everybody. It is neither more in a sage nor less in an ordinary person. It is the seed of the immortals, the wizards, the Buddhas, the worthies, and the sages. Don't you want to be like a worthy or a sage? Now this is the view of Chinese medicine and all indigenous medical systems. This is not the view, by the way, of our Western medical system. Because in the Western world, basically, medicine is about waiting until you get sick, diagnosing the problem, and doing what you can to fix it. And the key word there is waiting till you get sick. That's the modality. You can use the word prevention in the Western world, but it usually means like going to get a colonoscopy or a blood test or something like that. It's typically considered to be clinical prevention. The actual prevention is behavioral. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But in Chinese medicine and other ancient systems of medicine, all of this is considered to be a part of the medicine. So the healing disease part, which we're familiar with in the Western world, then the second part of medicine is considered to be like maximizing your well-being. We call it wellness now. It's like a new breakthrough idea here that we've had in the last 20 years. The Chinese and the other indigenous cultures have been into this for thousands of years. Then, to sustain well-being for a long time in a healthy sort of way, that's called longevity. And then immortality, which is the natural presence of the golden elixir of long and healthy life within you, is assessing, accessing, and expressing the eternal. In other words, to be able to find the part of yourself that is eternal and to somehow express that more efficiently. Now, I've been to China many times, and one of the things that I've always been fascinated with this immortality thing, and so in little villages throughout China, I have asked the question, is there an immortal in this town? And the answer is always, oh, yes. And you go down, this little roadway here, and then you turn right, and then you come to the little house at the end of the lane, and that's where the immortal lives. And so you go there, and it's always a very old person with a big smile on their face who's working really hard. They're working in the garden or doing something around their house. So the definition, one of the definitions of an immortal in China is just someone who has cracked the code on how to be, given the fact that they are eternal. They haven't somehow become eternal. They already were eternal, but they had a breakthrough, an insight about what that means for them. And of course, one of the things that it means is low stress and no care. So, that worked out. Excellent. That didn't work out. Excellent. You have to really work hard. Excellent. You can take the day off. Excellent. It's just always, it's sort of like that kind of thing of being able to be satisfied with that which arises. That which naturally arises is not always the most fun. I think you probably know that. So, can we get over the fact that we have expectations about how things should be and get into the groove around how things are? So now we're going to apply this to more practical parts of our lives, which is, we experience health problems. We will eventually lose our life to some kind of deficiency of function. This is now the research that's been done. This is from 1991 and this is from 1993. So this has been around now for 20 years. And 70% of disease is preventable by virtue of one report reported by the Department of Health and Human Services. And then in the New England Journal of Medicine, in an article written by a bunch of people, including C. Everett Koop, you may remember was the Surgeon General back in the 90s, 8 out of 9 causes of disease are preventable. So that's 90%. So somewhere between 70 and 90% of all disease is preventable. Wow, that's pretty inspiring. Wonder why we're spending so much money in the healthcare system. Well, we're medically treating diseases that are preventable. Now that makes me mad. That makes me really mad, because my government is spending money treating preventable diseases when they could be making a big deal out of how disease is preventable so that we could spend that money or something else, like school or bridges that are falling down, all kinds of, don't go political on this because we'll all get mad. Let's stay with the longevity thing. That's a little more lighthearted. Mind-body practice, Qigong and Tai Chi. These are the methodologies that the Chinese use to maximize function, and they break down into the 4 baskets of practice. Body practice, you've seen Tai Chi. And you've seen probably some kinds of Qigong. Breath practice. So with the body, adjust the posture, adjust the movement with the breath. Notice the breath. Notice your breath right now. And notice how hard it is to notice your breath. In other words, how much does it cost to notice your breath? How far do you have to travel to notice? Excuse me. How much does it cost for you to notice your breath, and how far do you have to travel to notice your breath? And what kind of an expert do you have to inquire with to notice your breath? Oh, it's all me. I don't have to go anywhere, and it doesn't cost anything. That's attractive. Let's learn more. Well, you can modify your breath. So go ahead, take a deeper breath, and just notice that you can, and it doesn't cost anything. And if we had more time, like if you were in my class this week, you would know so much more than we're going to be able to talk about this evening. It's amazing what happens in the human body when you do some very, very simple little things, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but let's go on for now. Then the 3rd basket of practice is mind focus, what we call that meditation. You know about that, and you've probably tried to do that, and you've also noticed how it's not that easy to do that. And there are ways to make that easier. And then self-applied massage. Self-applied massage, well, have you ever felt like, wow, I could sure use a massage, and then you don't do anything about it? Why? Because you're busy, or you don't have the $100, or whatever it is, or if the massage therapist is going to come to your house, you think, well, I have to shower first and clean up my house. You know, that's a lot of work to do to get a massage. But the truth is that right here, on the ends of your arms, are the tools of massage practitioners, and you can use them on yourself for no fee. Maybe we'll do a little of that before we're all done. So here's the physiological mechanisms, and it's only a few of them, but it's just amazing to look at just a couple of the things that happen when we do these very simple practices for developing natural longevity, non-pharmaceutical longevity. When we deepen our breath, relax the nervous system, move the body gently, adjust the posture, sink into a sustainable state of relaxation for a little while, all these things happen. Delivers oxygen more efficiently to your body parts, and you know, we could talk more about that, but just take my word for it. This is all, none of this is any kind of sort of new age science. This is all just plain old boring physiology. The acceleration of the internal water system, which is your elimination system. You know, how do you get the good stuff in and the bad stuff out? Well, the good stuff in goes through the blood, the oxygen and nutrition delivered to the cells. How do you get the bad stuff out? Through the lymph system. The sewage system of the human body, called the elimination system, can be accelerated. So you can speed up the discharge of toxic metabolic byproducts from your body by simply adjusting your posture. You might want to just sit up a little bit straighter, deepening your breath, sit up, deepen breath, and already you are turning on the self-healing mechanisms within your own being. Then if you relax, if you take a deep breath, exhale slowly through your nose, you are relaxing. And so now the capillaries are getting larger. This is all just the relaxation response. It happens just completely naturally. The only thing you have to do is adjust the posture, deepen the breath, exhale slowly, go deeper into the state of relaxation, and now you are making medicine. This is the medicine here. This is that medicine. The autonomic nervous system goes into a state of balance. You begin to function at the level of what we call the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the naturally present healing system within your own body. And it shifts your neurotransmitter mix from adrenaline-driven neurotransmitters, which turn off the immune system, to choline-based neurotransmitters which turn on the immune system. And so all of this is happening without you having to really even leave your seat or spend any cash. Just being here this evening and learning these things, you could be all you needed. So the Chinese talk about the qi. So we want to talk a little bit about the energy in the body. It turns out that the function of the body, think to yourself, the liver is a substance, but it has a function. You can have a liver that's not functioning. That's a lack of qi or energy. You can have a liver that is functioning. That's the presence of qi. Then, in your body, you have actually ions in your heart, in your nervous system, in your cells. The introduction of nourishment into the cell and the discharge of waste products from the cell, all is regulated by ions. The presence of ions in the body creates a magnetic field which comes beyond your body. And when we do a little Qigong later, we're going to see if we can feel the field between your hands or on your face. And then there's the quantum, which is this original Qi that we were talking about, the aspect of yourself which existed before the universe was born. Fascinating. So now we're going to talk about the three treasures, and I'm just going to zip through this, but you'll find, I think you'll find this interesting, please. So there's the Tai Chi. This is the Yin, which is associated with the solid, the earth, we're standing on it. That's the Yang, which is this open space above us. And by the way, does anybody know where the edge of this open space is? You know, I'm talking not the roof here. I'm talking about past this roof. Who knows where the edge of the universe is? Well, the answer is nobody. Nobody. The Nobel Prize for where the edge of the universe is has not been given. So these are the primordial forces merging in Tai Chi. So if you're fascinated with all of this, you might want to think, well, how could I get into all of this a little bit more? Well, do Tai Chi. And then there's some ideas that can be associated with these things. So the Yin is associated with particles, while the Yang is associated with waves. And the in-between is something that, this is a word that actually has been used in physics, wavicle, because particles disappear and reappear and disappear and reappear. That's part of how the substance of us shows up. Again, I don't understand exactly why. This is associated with your body, the ground, the water and the earth. When you hold out water, you hold out earth, you let go, they fall. If you hold out fire, you hold out wind, they rise. And the Chinese just had these insights about that. And this is all of how Chinese medicine is based on this gorgeous story about human life. The spirit above, the body below, the mind and the emotions in the middle. And if you think to yourself, yes, I do have a body. Yes, I probably do have a spirit, which I associate with openness. And yes, I do have something between that's not my body, it's not the substance of myself, it's not my transcendental nature, my spirit, but it is my character. So my philosophies, my intellect, my dreams, my creative insights, none of those are a substance, but they are all you. So we're going to talk a little bit about function and just keep going pretty quickly. So I was very fortunate to be involved in doing a research project where we looked into the health benefits of Qigong and Tai Chi. It was published in the American Journal of Acupuncture. One of my colleagues, Linda Larkey from the University of Arizona, wrote this report. I'm going to show you one slide on it. And so there are about 77 studies that have been done on Tai Chi and Qigong. And the three top numbers of studies, so they were all positive, meaning that the Qigong does no harm and looks like it may have a positive benefit. And most of the studies were done on heart disease, which is the greatest killer in our society. So imagine if people could do a little Qigong and Tai Chi and just not have a heart attack. Why aren't we doing this? I mean, why is this not like the biggest headline of the day? And the largest number of studies, the neuropsychological, which is stress, anxiety, depression, and other neurological disorders like Parkinson's disease and multiple sclerosis. There are 27 studies on the efficiency of Qigong and Tai Chi in helping people to manage or eliminate these diseases or these discomforts in their lives. So now we'll go on to a little bit more tripped out view of this, resonance. So the relaxation response is probably the most important discovery of the late 20th century, which is now having an influence on what we know in the 21st century. The stress response was discovered in the 20s and 30s and was a great reason for pharmaceutical companies to come up with drugs. Oh, you're stressed. Well, here, take this drug. Oh, you're depressed. Well, here, take this drug. Oh, you have anxiety. Well, here, take this drug. This guy, Herbert Benson, at the University of Harvard University, after he got initiated into transcendental meditation, figured out, put it all together, that there is an opposite to the stress response, which is called the relaxation response. And it makes all these changes in your body. And it's a little complex and we won't talk about it, but basically the shift between the sympathetic, which is the go system, and the parasympathetic, which is the slow system. The slow system is the natural healing capacity of the human body. You want to get in to the parasympathetic. And Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, meditation take you there. The decrease of the adrenaline-based neurotransmitters and the increase of the choline-based neurotransmitters, that's the natural healing mechanisms. You want to figure out how to do that. You want to go from hypertensive, where your blood is under extreme pressure to the extent that it could like blow out in your head and create a stroke, and you want to get into what's called normotensive. Well, how do you do that? Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, meditation, etc. You want to be able to turn on an automatic cleansing system, which is based on the lymphatic system, and there are these aspects of your lymphatic system which are like tubes that go into the tissue spaces and gather the waste fluids and pull them in to the elimination system, something like this. Opens at the end, it closes a big chunk of waste fluid, and then compresses and pushes the fluid into the system. And this mechanism is more efficient when you are relaxed. So when you're tense and on the run, it's not going. And when you're tense and on the run, the immune system is not going. There's this mountains and mountains and mountains of research that demonstrates that when people are on go, that their immune system is on stop. And that when they are on go, when we're on go, the intrinsic capacity for the lymphatic system to cleanse the tissue spaces slows down and stops. Wow. So there's all kinds of evidence that we can now control our own internal environment and make changes in our well-being just like that. Now this is the most interesting thing. Listen up, this is like now the anti-aging fountain of youth. Oh my gosh. You know, we're not going to live forever. That's probably not going to be how this is going to go, except for the fact that we are eternal and incorruptible, and when the body's gone, we're still there in some way. But check this out. That guy Benson and his team at Harvard have recently published, actually 4 years ago now, a research article called Genomic Counter-Stress Changes Induced by the Relaxation Response. Right in the abstract it says, to induce the relaxation response, do yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation, and when you do, it actually changes the rate at which your cells use themselves up. And that cell, to be able to replicate itself into a fresh new cell, it has to have a certain capacity which is provided by something called a telomere. I don't know if you've heard about telomeres, but telomeres are a very important part of the DNA. And the telomeres become corrupted over time, and they basically shut down the capacity for cell replication. And if you get enough of your systems within your body that stop being able to replicate themselves, well, you will die. And so, wow, that's so exciting. So we can actually not only stop the depreciation of the DNA, we can actually turn the depreciation of the DNA around and rehabilitate our own cellular material. This is the longevity concept from the Chinese now being proven here in the Western world. Well, there's a team of people in China who did the same thing. Genomic profiling in Asian Qigong practitioners, gene regulation by mind-body interaction. And then there's a group from India that did the same thing. Gene expression profiling in practitioners of a particular kind of yoga, where they have been able to use super new era gene investigation technology to determine that doing Qigong and yoga actually have a powerful influence on the capacity of the cells to sustain their well-being. So here's a line from Benson. It is becoming increasingly clear that psychosocial stress can manifest as a system-wide perturbations of the cellular process, generally increasing oxidative stress, which is terrible for your tissues, and promoting a pro-inflammatory milieu, which is also terrible for your tissues. That's why everybody's on the anti-inflammatory diet these days. More recently, chronic psychosocial stress has been associated with accelerated aging at the cellular level, and specifically shortened telomeres, low telomerase activity, decreased antioxidant capacity. Antioxidant capacity, you know, I mean, your cereal has antioxidants in it these days because of how science has discovered that antioxidant capacity is so important. And increased oxidative stress are correlated with increased psychosocial stress and with increased vulnerability to a variety of disease states. So in other words, stress, whether it's the stress of pollutants or the stress of being stuck in traffic and getting all upset, or whether it's the stress of things like sugar in the system, those are all stresses. And they are having a negative influence on your cells, on your DNA. So I'm into Qigong, so I say Qigong equals reduced rate of cell death. Now, it's not like we're afraid to die. That's not the issue. We just want to be well while we're alive. Yes? Yes. Uh-huh. So that's where the longevity part comes in. Let's talk just a couple more slides, and then we're going to do a little practice. Light. Religious traditions are into light. We have seasons of light. We have days to celebrate light. We recognize that the spirit is a kind of a light. The light of spirit is what we say. And so we're going to talk just a little bit about light and spirit and light and science. In one of my favorite books, The Secret of the Golden Flower, it says, turn the light of consciousness around. Now, your consciousness is going out to perceive. I see you means my eyes are picking up impulses and giving me pictures of what I see. I'm interpreting that as a positive, lovely, wonderful crowd of people. I'm delighted to see you there. I'm making that interpretation of the images and so forth. That light, the Chinese call that the light of consciousness going out. The consciousness of your ears, listening. And think of all the weird stuff you listen to. I mean, if you listen to any television you are spending your consciousness going out. And it's okay, it's very entertaining, and sometimes we feel like it's important and all of that, so, you know, that's as good as it is. But this is the idea of turning the light of your consciousness in to observe the natural presence of inner light. And there's a whole process in Qigong which has to do with this whole concept of circulating the light within and the Qi channels and so forth. It's very beautiful concept. Then this is one of my favorites from the New Testament. When you are focused on unity, this isn't exactly how it's stated in Matthew 22, but I think it's what Matt was trying to say, is that when you use your single eye, that is the eye of purposeful focus, not your double eyes. We're talking about the non-dual capacity to see, that when you focus on the single eye, your whole body will be filled with light. Isn't that beautiful? And this is supposedly one of the things that Jesus, a great Tai Chi and Qigong master, had to say. So now here's some of the science on light. It turns out that, this guy right here, Fritz Popp, a gentleman from Germany or somewhere near Germany, discovered at one point that cucumber cells produce photons. Now a photon is light. That's the same kind of energy that's coming at us from the sun. There's lots more coming from the sun, of course. The level of light being discharged from cucumber cells is very low, but it's there. And later they did this on salamanders and found out that the cells of salamanders are exuding photons. And we now know that human beings are exuding photons in some special sort of way. And at that same conference where I was rooming with Dr. Schmidt, there was another gentleman there from Denmark who worked for the agricultural department, and they used a device that used bioluminescence, that is measuring the amount of light that's coming off of agricultural products, eggs, milk, seeds, and vegetables that have been harvested either recently or not recently, to be able to develop a quotient, in other words, a score as to how vital they are. And they could actually tell like how many seeds out of 100 are going to be able to sprout from a quantity of grain. So we were talking about, well, we need to build one of those for a human. Could you put a human through one of those? And of course he said yes, but it cost about $1 billion, and so we stopped talking about it. But it was, just fascinating that the human body produces light. It's not just a spiritual idea, it's actually a science idea. Cells are producing laser-like light. Wow. Intra and intercellular communication is the light helps to regulate the biological functions, cell growth and differentiation. In other words, the growth of cells and their differentiation into what they will become. So that would mean stem cells, the ability for the human system to take stem cells and transform them into liver cells, eyeball cells, fingertip cells, hair cells, and so forth, in some way or another, has to do with the presence and the functionality of this light. So, kind of concluding, now I'm prone to, exaggeration. So this statement is my idea. I don't think that anything that we've looked at so far exactly says this. I think the Chinese were kind of into this. We are eternal, multi-dimensional beings of energy and light expressing in human form. So let's practice. So how we'll do that is you want to sit up and get yourself comfortable. If there's some extra pillows here, you could grab an extra pillow if you want to sit a little higher. So one of the things that we're the most interested in is feeling the chi. So we're going to do a little practice to see if we can feel the invisible aspect of our self. Now think to yourself, if there's an invisible aspect of yourself, is it closer to being your body, or is it closer to being your non-body? Well, it's closer to being your non-body. So when you lose the body that you have, whenever you do, however you do, wouldn't it be cool if you could have a fairly good relationship with the part of yourself that's not the part that you're losing? And so Qigong is kind of like a process through which you get to make friends with the aspect of yourself which is not the body. And it's speculation. You know, we don't know exactly, because the magnetic field of yourself is actually created by the ions functioning within you. And those ions are in your body, but they are not a substance. So if, however we calculate it, there's nothing there, maybe however we calculate it, the nothing that is there is you. It's just you can't see it. It's not a thing. So rub your hands together and then turn your hands to your body. And we're going to go tracing with the tips of your fingers or the palms of your hands, go up and then onto your face and touching your face. And later we're going to not touch, but right now we're touching over the top of your head. Now, take a deep breath now and then. So right now would be a good time to take one of those big deep breaths. Now your hands go around behind you and reach up just as high as you can, and then go down your back and over your butt basically, and down your legs a little bit. Now if you're sitting in such a way that it's not comfortable for you to go all the way down to your feet, then just go down here somewhere and then come to the inside of your legs, and we're going to go up. And let's do that again. So your hands are touching your face. And as you're doing that, do you feel like your hands are warmer or is your face warmer? Just notice, like, which is which. Are your hands warmer or is your face warmer? And then down your neck, your shoulders, reach around to the back again. Take a deep breath occasionally. You want to get really relaxed now. And every time you take a deep breath, as you exhale slowly, you are causing a wave of relaxation to pass through your system. Now, this time when your hands come to your face, stop and just feel. Take a moment to tell, are my hands more warm or is my face more warm? And then notice that. Notice that. And then just let your hands come around to your ears and place your hands on your ears and notice the temperature of your ears compared to your hands. And then your hands are going to come down, not touching now. We're just going to go about an inch off of your surface of your body, going down the torso. And as you're doing that, see if you feel anything. Of course, it's going to be very subtle if you do. It'd be kind of like feeling some very, very mild breeze. Bring your hands back up. Take a deep breath now. As you exhale very slowly through your nose, notice the feelings inside your body. When your hands come up to your face, now bring your hands, don't touch your face, go close to your face and go towards the center, like bring your hands together close to your the center line of your face, and then go away from the center line of your face, go round to your ears. See if you can feel some kind of, well, like radiance coming off of your hands, or you may feel a radiance coming off of your face. So the hands may feel the radiance of your face, or your face may feel the radiance of your hands. Now go up to the top of your head. Your hands are about 1 inch off of the top of your head. Raise your hands away from your head a little bit, maybe 2 to 3 inches. Then come closer. Go very, very slowly. Notice if you feel some kind of something very subtle. It's not a thing, so it's hard to say what kind of a thing you would be feeling, because it's not a thing, it's a sensation, it's an awareness. Bring your hands now back down by your ears. Feel that sensation. Come around by your face, your eyes, your cheeks. Then let's come down your torso slowly. Do you feel something, at the level of the heart maybe, or not? One of the things that's really important to understand is that it's not that, it's interesting to do this. It's not critical. There's nothing, like if you're not feeling this, there's nothing wrong with you. If there was something wrong with you, you wouldn't be here. You're fine. It's just for fun. We're just doing this for fun. And so if it's not working out exactly, we'll just relax and keep aware, stay aware, so you don't maybe miss something interesting. Now turn your hands to face each other. Your palms are facing each other, and bring your hands closer together and then further apart. And we're going to just do this for a few more moments. Then we'll have a little discussion, see what people found. Now, probably the most important part of Qigong, or what we call Chinese yoga, or what is even true about Indian yoga, is the breath. So be sure to take a deep breath in, big deep breath in, and then let it out very slowly. Do a couple of those, because it helps to make the field, the chi field, more vibrant. And bring your hands closer together and further apart. Lift your head, lengthen your spine, lift your head, relax your shoulders, open some space under your arms, and continue to go deeper and deeper into relaxation, and move your hands closer together and farther apart. And when you find that sensation of the chi, or the energy, then see if you can make a little phrase in your intellect, in your mind. If you can make a little phrase that describes what you're feeling. Now sometimes people go really close and they're thinking, oh, my chi field is so tiny, I can hardly even feel it, I can't find it, oh dear, I must not be very well. And then later, they open their hands and they feel it out here. So it could be anywhere in here. So take the time, just a little bit longer, maybe like 1 minute longer, to feel the chi. To feel the aspect of yourself that is not the body. Now we'll do one more practice to do just a little more of this Qigong practice. So turn the tips of your fingers to the earth. Raise your hands, breathe in. It's like you're gathering from nature, gathering from the soil, gathering from the living things like the people, the trees, the life forms, gathering from the sky, the cosmos, the heavens, the celestial domain. Bathe yourself. Send these healing resources into your body As your hands pass your face, notice the sensation. And we'll do one more time. As you reach down, think of the gifts of the earth. You know, the roots of all the plants that grow all the food go into the earth. That's where the nourishment comes from. Earth is solid. You put your house on the earth. You're standing on the earth. It's hard to stand anywhere else. And then the living things, you know, at the level you're a living thing. So you're on the same level with the birds, the butterflies, the whales, the dolphins. And then the energy of stars, planets, galaxies, white and black holes. Bathe yourself. See if you can feel that subtle presence. And then just place your hands in your lap, or if you want to keep going, please, you know, with this, if that is fun for you, or you're not quite there yet and you want to keep going at it, please continue. Now let's just bring our attention back to the group here and wake yourself up. And so just very briefly before we go, let's hear from you. If you would, raise your hand and just tell us. Now, it's important for you to understand this right away, is that it is almost always true that everybody feels things a little differently. So if you think to yourself, oh, I'm afraid to say this because, you know, I might get it wrong, can't be wrong. So raise your hand and tell me what you felt. Please. Don't make me collapse up here. Thank you very much. So a kind of pull together, push apart type energy? Yeah, that's pretty common. Yes? So it feels like it is a something, even though there's like nothing there. Yes. Others? Please. Fun. Okay, a couple more. Like a ball of electricity? Yeah. Now when your hands were near your face, did you feel the energy of your face on your hands, or did you feel the energy of your hands on your face? Yes. And anybody else that could just say same or different? Hands on face? So you couldn't tell the difference. Yeah, it was almost like both maybe. Yep. Now, did anybody notice that when you placed your hands on your face, that your face was warmer and your hands were cooler, but then later have the experience that your hands were not cool at all? Did you have that experience? Yeah. So all these kinds of little things can happen. It's just fascinating. So, gee, do you have any questions? I would say that's the conclusion of the presentation. Is there anything you want to know before we go to the hot tub? Going once?
I really like the first picture.
Oh, the blue kind of glowing. Yeah. I got that off of Google Images, so Head on down, post it on Facebook. Questions? Going once? Going twice? Yes. How do MRI? Yes, how do MRI affect us? Well, you know, I'm not a real expert on this. I know that the MRI has a very definite influence on the way that the electrons are arranged in how they are in our body. The question might be, is there a problem with that? And as I understand it, that CT scans are actually more of a problem than MRI, but honestly, it's not my area. So I'd say look it up on Wikipedia. Yes?
David Wolf did this book on rock trees, and there's all these photographs of different fruits and interviews they did.
Yes.
Is that the same as like cucumber scientists?
I don't know because I'm not sure what David was doing, but I would say probably. Oh, Carillion. No, that's a little, well, no, it's a kind of the same. And again, like, the point though is that these are fields of energy, you know, whether they're the same or not, you know, that's exciting. Yes. And of course, you know, the vitality of food that has been sitting in an airplane and then in a truck and then in a grocery store and then, you know, and then they spray a little water on it for you so it looks like it was fresh, but, you know, it's been off the root for, you know, days. So, yeah, in Santa Barbara where we live, there's a farmer's market that's 5 minutes away. Oh my gosh, you know, how wonderful it is to have. We just planted fruit trees last year. There's peaches coming. You know, I just know that those are going to be the best peaches that you could get because it's just like reach, eat. Couple more questions? Yes?
The thing that I want to work on is improve hydration and moisture in the body. Over the past, let's say, year or two, I've been having some issues with that. So I was wondering what Chinese medicine has to say about the best ways to add moisture to your body and hydration.
Well, what the Chinese say is drink tea all day, which they do. And then, of course, they drink herbal formulas, which have a lot of water in them. And they tend to, because they have been a very poor nation, grow their own food. And their own food is filled with the hydration of the food. And there's lots and lots to know about the quality of different kinds of water. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be your expert on that, but I would suggest maybe looking up on the internet, you know, the best ions, spin water, you know, Kangen water, all that kind of stuff. We are 70% water, and when you do things like sit in hot water, you want to, you know, be tanking the water as much as possible. But ultimately, I would say that your intention is a good one, and that I applaud that, and I hope it works out well. Yin is water, yang is fire. The relationship between the two. So you're 70% water, so that's your yin, and then your spirit and your intelligence and your sense of inspiration, those are all fire. So to have those be in balance would be something that the Chinese would suggest. And then ways of doing that are drinking water, but also quieting down. Be more yin is to be more quiet. Be more loud to be more yang. So if you want to balance the yin force within you, and you find yourself being, shall we say, kind of a shouty character, then you just notice that and say, you know, what do I need besides a big cool glass of water right now to be able to cool me down? I see. Okay, anything else you want to talk about before you go? Yes. Say it a little louder.
As you give some scientific examples, how do you respond when people say it's your power of suggestion or your intention of creating?
Right. Well, intention and power of suggestion are kind of around in the same area. In the Chinese view, those are all a part of what we call the heart mind, which is the character, the intelligence, all the emotions, all of that. And the one slide that we looked at said that the experiment cannot be objective, it's always subjective, meaning that the experimenter has an influence on the outcome. Well, that same rule, that Heisenberg's law of uncertainty, which is what that expression is from, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, basically is saying that anyone who has a consciousness, well, everyone has a consciousness, so let's say it a different way, that consciousness has an influence on the nature of the experience that one is having. And so that whole thing about intention, I think, has some relevance. And the whole concept of putting yourself into a state of heightened suggestibility is a good one, because that's what people who hypnose, they put the watch in front of you, you get hypnotized, now you're in a suggestible state, right? So then the question is, rather than acting like a chicken or undressing in front of a lot of people, what could I do that's a little more constructive than that? Give myself some suggestions, so my suggestion, get into a nice, deep, relaxed state, do Tai Chi for a while, and then think to yourself, like, what do I want? And then suggest to yourself to be enthusiastic about pursuing that. That's kind of like how that whole thing works. So yeah, it's a very powerful concept, and these kinds of practices put us into that suggestible state. And then if you're wise enough or oriented enough to have created some little power statements, some affirmations, or those kinds of things, setting some just sort of gentle, not too aggressive goals, so you don't have to go too far to win, just like a little couple of steps to go forward, to evolve, or to, fulfill just little bits at a time. That's how it works, isn't it? There's one more thing, and that is the Chinese say that when you do these practices, you're mining into the richness of your essence nature. So when you think to yourself, how much do I neglect my essence nature? Well, I'm busy, I'm shopping, I'm entertaining myself, I'm kind of paranoid, so I'm distracting myself.